which ended up being 2 discs. It's not on vinyl. I've checked multiple times.
I'm sure sooner rather than later that will be coming out as a Record Store Day exclusive or something.
Please, Mondo, please do like the 4 or 6 like album, like vinyl release of this soundtrack. It is fucking incredible, man. You have Al Green, you have Curtis Mayfield multiple fucking times. Yeah, I think he's got 3 or 4 solo tracks, and then his work with the Impressions has 2 or 3 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Aretha Franklin, Sly and the Family Stone, Isaac Hayes has a couple tracks on it. James Brown, Otis Redding, Edwin Starr. Like, soul and funk music. It's incredible. I have both of those. I think I originally had them on tape, on cassette.
You don't have them anymore?
I might have them somewhere. But I definitely upgraded the CDs later on, looking for vinyl for years for this soundtrack. I wish I knew for a fact if I still had the cassettes. I think I have at least the first one on cassette still floating around somewhere. I'd have to look.
The first volume?
The first volume, yeah. Because like I said, there is 2 volumes. Man, what a fucking soundtrack. This is, like I said, hands down my favorite. I was so into the music, because soul music has always been my favorite, and I listened to the soundtrack religiously for years. Still listen to it quite a lot, but like for years, especially when I had it on cassette in my Walkman, like after school, I would just listen to it all fucking day long. And it for sure is what got me into Curtis Mayfield, because of all of his tracks that are on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this comes out 95, and it comes out just before my 16th birthday. Yeah, so like I hadn't seen Superfly yet, so I didn't know, I wasn't aware of that Curtis Mayfield soundtrack for Superfly. So like this soundtrack is responsible for getting me into Curtis Mayfield. What a fucking incredible soundtrack. And the Elfman score is great too. Especially the main title. The main title is so goddamn good. What plays over the opening credits
with the money burning?
Yeah. And there's not a lot of Elfman music in it. There's some during the Vietnam, but you really don't hear it again until the last act in the heist. But the Elfman score is awesome as well. So, again, please, for Record Store Day or Mondo, somebody release this soundtrack on vinyl. I'm almost positive it doesn't exist. I tried looking for it. Maybe I should try Discogs to see if possibly it is, but I think the last time I looked on Discogs, they didn't even have it. So I don't think it ever got a vinyl release.
Got to put that energy out there.
I'm hoping, man. And another thing, I don't even think it's on Blu-ray.
I think I was telling you off air. I think I saw online a Blu-ray, but that could be another region
2 or something.
Because I've definitely never seen it in person.
It's from Hollywood Pictures, which is an offshoot of Disney.
Mm-hmm.
But we've talked about this before, like Disney and Hollywood and Touchstone. There's not a lot of those movies that are available on Blu-ray. There's like the handful of Spike Lee movies that he did for Touchstone that aren't on Blu-ray, which sucks because I would love to own them in high def. What were you saying about Amazon? It's on the cheap now, right?
Yeah, right now it's I think it's usually about $3.99 to rent, and right now it's on sale for like something random, like 52 cents.
Holy shit!
To rent it. So if you either haven't seen it in a long time, or you want to maybe rewatch it after listening to this episode, check out Prime. It's basically free. You know, definitely worth your time. Great movie. Everything about this is it's amazing, and yeah, I'll forever be wondering why it has nearly, like, almost no, like, cultural footprint.
Mm-hmm. I think the face paint, like I said, I think the face paint has more of a footprint than than the film itself.
Yeah.
You know, that look.
Yeah, like, even if you haven't seen the movie, you're aware of that cover. Because for whatever reason, it's just embedded itself into pop culture.
So I hope that we did the movie justice. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. It's fucking awesome. Check out the soundtrack if you're into soul, if you're into funk. The soundtrack is so worth your money. Even if you just get it digitally or on CD or something. Definitely pick it up.
On that note, what are we going to be talking about at the end of for the end of March?
The end of March, we have an early comedy from a director that's probably known more for a later comedy, but I would argue that this earlier comedy is better. It's so fucking funny. It has a great lead performance from someone who usually gets a little maligned. Don't want to say too much. One of the great comedies, in my opinion, it almost throws it back to an earlier screwball comedy. This is from the mid 80s, so I'm really excited to talk about this one because it's one of my favorite comedies, especially from this guy.
I'll follow up that with what we're going to be doing next week. Keep in mind, I'm not sure who's going to be on the show with me for next week, so it might be an open-ended guest spot to be announced. But I want to talk about Steve McQueen's Widows.
Oh, great movie!
Simply because it's going to be Women's Month for March, and what better way than to open up the month with a film like that.
That's one that's so fucking underrated too. That I don't know what it did box office wise. Maybe I'll have to tune in next week or sit down with you next week and talk. But that's a movie that deserved a much bigger box office and a much bigger impression than it got because it's so fucking good. And everyone in it is great. Yeah. Hands down, great.
So, Widows coming next week. Very exciting.
Very exciting.
And so with that, I guess we'll head out.
Check out Dead Presidents. Listen to the soundtrack on repeat over and over again. Go check out The Batman next week.
That's right.
Hopefully it'll be good. I'm optimistic. And support movie theaters. I'm sure that's going to be in IMAX. Go watch that movie on a big fucking screen.
I think it's playing in all formats available. So Dolby, everything.
Yeah.
If you're stumbling upon this podcast and you're not familiar with what we do, we are a pop culture podcast out of San Diego, California, and we are available on all major podcast platforms, including Stitcher, Spreaker, Sode, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, Illuminary, all that good stuff. So if you like what we're doing, give us, a generous 5-star rating and write a quick review. Yeah, and that's about it. Appreciate all the support. Thank you, Chris, for coming on, making time for me and the show. It's always a blast having you on. I know you have a loyal following who are always stoked to hear your episode specifically.
Those people are very kind and very generous. Yeah. But thank you for having me. Thank you for always letting me spotlight some movies that I think don't get as much love as they should, or some movies that are just personal favorites of mine that I just cannot wait to talk about.
Yeah.
As always, thank you for having me.
Anytime, man. Anytime. It's always a pleasure. And with that, we'll say good fight and good night.
Good night.
Need any money or anything? Man, I got over like a fat rat when I got out, man. I got my school money coming from the government once a month. I got my veterans check coming once a month. I got my 50% medical check coming to me for the rest of my life. I ain't got to do a goddamn thing else but go to the mailbox, you dig? Hey, man, how the hell you pull a 50% medical? Nigga, you ain't disabled. Man, some shit got into me over there, man. What? All I know is my blood cells all fucked up. Some nights I wake up in cold sweats and shit. You don't look at me like that, man. It ain't the heroin. The heroin ain't never did nothing to me. A lot of vets come down with this shit.
And they don't know what it is.
What it is.
Oh, man, you wanna come on in the crib or something, man?
Nah, man, I'm cool, baby. I'm a split. But you here, baby, you home. We got plenty of time to do our thing. You know what I'm saying?